Welcome to day 17 out of 24 stories. Now this one's not another Christmas story, but tonight's story is called Little Miss Inventor and the Robots, written by the same artists. Little Miss Inventor was always inventing new gadgets to make her life easier. She had a tea-making gadget and a toast buttering gadget and a breakfast conveyor gadget that brought her breakfast in bed. And these were just the gadgets that she had invented for making breakfast. There were many more. So many, in fact, that she could hardly move for gadgets. There we are. One morning, while she was waiting in bed for all her gadgets to do their work, she suddenly had a thought. What you might call a brainwave. What if she could combine all her gadgets into one machine? A robot. After breakfast, she set to work in a workshop at the bottom of the garden. She welded and screwed and calculated and hammered and measured and nailed until she had invented her very first robot, the Help Bot. It was a marvel, and it replaced all her gadgets. Can you guess who it was inspired by? The next morning, the Help Bot made tea and buttered toast and poured orange juice and put everything on a tray and took breakfast up to Miss Inventor in bed. Or it would have done. But Miss Inventor had forgotten one thing. The staircase. It was back to the drawing board for Miss Inventor, but it did not take her long to solve the problem. The HelpBot 2.0 worked like a dream. The next day, after breakfast in bed, Miss Inventor went out for a walk. And as she paused a certain person's house, an extraordinary long arm reached out of the upstairs window. I'm sure you can guess who that arm belonged to. That's right, it was Mr. Tickles. And Mr. Tickles' extraordinary long arm tickled Miss Inventor. She laughed. Further on, Miss Inventor felt a bump on her head. And then there was a crash. It was Mr. Tall. He was so tall that he had not seen Miss Inventor and had tripped over her. That evening, another thought occurred to Miss Inventor. Mr. Tickle's arms could not be very useful if they did not tickle you, and Mr. Tall's legs could be very useful if they did not trip over you. And so she invented the Extender-Bot, a robot that could clean gutters, wash upstairs windows, and clip tall hedges. A robot that could feed the giraffe at the zoo. The next day, while watching Mr. Strong help Farmer Fields bring in the hay, Miss Inventor had another idea. The Strong Bot. It was magnificently strong. It was stupendously strong. It even helped Mr. Funny moved house. Literally. Miss Inventor quickly realized that there were all sorts of robots that she could make for all sorts of people. After tea at Mr. Messy's house, she made him a Fussy Bot, inspired by Mr. Fussy, a robot which scrubbed the house until it was clean as a new pin. After a failed supper at Mr. Lazy's house, she invented the Greedy Bot, inspired by Mr. Greedy, a robot that was a great chef. And after waiting for an age for Miss Late, she invented the Rush Bot based on Mr. Rush, a self-drive car that was never late. Miss Inventor was very pleased with all her robots. However, her friends were not so pleased. The Fussy Bot never stopped cleaning. Mr. Messy could not move without it swooping down and cleaning up after him. He ended up stuck in the corner, unable to move for all the constant cleaning. The Greedy Bot was an amazing chef, but it also had an amazing appetite. It ate everything it cooked. Poor Mr. Lazy. And the Rushbot was always on time, but it was in such a rush to leave that Miss Slate was always left behind. And then there was some robots that even Miss Inventor had to admit were a mistake, like the Chatterbot, and the Bouncebot, and the Dotbot. And then she invented the Bossybot, a robot to take charge, a robot to ensure that everyone behaved. And the Bossybot did take charge. It took charge of Mr. Rude and Mr. Grumpy and Miss Naughty, which was all well and good, but then it went a step too far, or more accurately, a wheel too far. It stopped Mr. Funny making jokes, it stopped Miss Hug hugging, and it stopped Miss Giggles giggling. And then, to make matters even worse, the Bossybot took charge of all Miss Inventor's other robots. A whole team of them. The Extenderbot tied Mr. Tickles up in knots, and the Bouncebot bounced Mr. Bump. The Strongbot parked Miss Sunshine's car in a tree. The Fussy Pot the Fussy Bot, tried to vacuum up Miss Tiny, and the Greedy Bot ate all the food in town. It was chaos. The robots have taken over. Even Miss Inventor's Helpbot was far from helpful. Miss Inventor could not believe her eyes. What had she done? What could she do? And then she had an idea. She hurried down to her shed and invented a stop button. And the stop button worked. See you tomorrow for day 18.